Can you hear me okay? What makes you so sure that this year is going to be better than last year?
Well, actually, the last year, 2008, was the worst year on record for hedge funds. They lost some 30% of assets under management, and the assets under management fell to some $1.5 trillion, and that's a huge decline, especially if you compare it to the growth that we've seen in the decade prior to this, which averaged about 20% per year. I mean, this year will be better, but it won't be much better. We still think, FSL thinks that assets under management of hedge funds will fall a further 20% during this year.
But what is going to make that little improvement? Is it going to be redemption rates and improvement in redemption rates, or are we going to see just general overall performance of the funds?
I think both. I think the performance last year was the worst on record as well. Hedge funds lost on average about 15.7% of assets through investments. And most of those losses came in a relatively short period between September and November last year. I think this year the markets are likely to stabilize more than, well, especially as compared to last year. And also the redemptions are likely to they're not likely to be as high as last year. Last year was actually only the second year in the last 20 years that we've seen a net outflow of funds.
Marko, I was very interested in your report to see this. You make so much of the reputational damage inflicted by Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of a hit did hedge funds take as a result of that?
Well, I think the climate prior to the closure of the Madoff fund was already risk averse because of everything that's been going on. And I think this certainly hasn't helped the case for investing into hedge funds. So I think it just added to the already cautious market that's developed around.
Do you, IFSL, think hedge funds get a bad rap in light of all the regulation talk, in light of the slowdown?
Well, I think that's been the case over the past year, but if you look at, for example, who's investing into these hedge funds, a major trend over the past 5 or 6 years has been the increase of institutional investment into hedge funds. And actually 2008 was the first year that there was more investments from institutional investors than private investors. Prior to the year 2000, most of these investments came from private individuals. And we know that institutional investors are going to be more cautious when investing.
Is there, okay, so you do think they got a pretty bad rap?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there is enough transparency in the way hedge funds operate, and in the way in which the institutions and indeed the private investors can find out what is going on with their investment?
Well, I think this varies widely. I mean, there are around 10,000 hedge funds in existence, so they're not all going to be the same. I mean, about 50% of these hedge funds are registered offshore, 50% are registered onshore. So it's a sort of very diverse market. But I think with the rise in institutional investment and with the increase in regulation, we will see more transparency in the market. I think that's inevitable.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about that increase in regulation. Clearly, we've heard a lot about it. We heard a little bit about it out of G20. Of course, the FSA has announced its measures as well. Do you think it's enough? Do you think it's too much? Will it scare people away from London as a financial centre?
Well, I think this is still an early stage because we still don't know the details of what the proposals that the G20 has put forward are. We know that they will create a financial supervisory board, which will, for the first time, regulate the systemically important hedge funds.
Marko, let me just interrupt. We got a draft. Reuters got hold of a draft proposal yesterday from the EU. Again, private equity funds, hedge funds and private equity are going to need to be registered, hold a minimum level of capital, disclose information on borrowing to regulators. I mean, none of that is new. I guess it's the details on each of those that we need, right?
Yes. I mean, I think these are positive developments for the industry. And I think in the current climate, this should help to draw investors back into the industry.
What about London as an attractive centre to do business? Do you think the FSA rules that Adair Turner and Hector Sanz are now following, do you think that is going to scare people away?
I don't think so. I mean, London along with New York is the leading center for managers of hedge funds. I mean, these hedge funds are not registered in London, but the managers that actually manage the assets that do the deals are located here. And London has been increasing its share over the past 5 or 6 years. It's actually doubled its share to around 18% of global hedge fund assets. So it has I think it has a favorable environment for managers of hedge funds. I think it's not solely due to regulation. I mean, it's a combination of factors. I mean, London is the leading global center for cross-border or international financial services. I mean, it offers many advantages to hedge fund managers, such as, I mean, it's located in a good time zone. It has a wealth of expertise.
Sure.
The clients and markets are very close by.
Just really quickly to finish out with, we talk about the number of hedge funds fell by 10% in 2008 to about 10,000.
Yes.
Was that, firstly, was that a necessary shakeout, do you think? And secondly, how many more could we see go this year?
Well, I think that was inevitable as well. I mean, the attrition rate was roughly double the attrition rate that we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years, and that's not surprising. I think we will see a concentration of assets within the largest hedge funds. For example, at the moment, the largest 3% or the largest 100 hedge funds account for 3/4 of the industry. And I think once this crisis is behind us, I think the industry will come out even more concentrated. We'll have more large hedge funds at the top.
All right, Marko, thanks a lot for joining us. Marko Maslakovic from IFSL. Do join us again at 9:30 G, that's 10:30 UK. We'll be looking at the key signs for demand for cocoa over the coming months. Thanks for watching. I'm Axel Threlfall.